Yeah, so overall, the participants were very satisfied with the outcomes of the chat, especially in comparison with other methods of reaching out to organizations. For example, cold calling, going in person, accessing other methods of chat that were mentioned previously. They found that the promptness of the chat responses facilitated more of a back and forth discussion. They could ask follow-up questions, while as email, just that delay, the lag, and back and forth, as opposed to other chat methods that they accessed that had artificial intelligence. Here they were able to get more targeted and specific information as opposed to just generic links that were sent out using keywords from their queries. So it was overall much more favorable to them, and they were very satisfied.
They also indicated that the platform was very simple and easy to use, although this could be because the majority of respondents did indicate a high level of comfort with the internet or smartphones or computers. So that could be the reason why they felt the platform was very simple for them.
So in the interviews we conducted, we found that participants identified advantages that could be grouped into 5 categories. Firstly, they all mentioned the convenience of the online platform. When attempting to meet in person, there are certain logistics such as, commute, childcare, taking time off school or work, and these issues were all avoided by accessing the online platform. Secondly, they mentioned that it facilitated communication for them. There was also the human and empathetic component of the online platform. The accessibility of the chat was another advantage. They could access it after hours or on the weekends. And lastly, they all identified that the information provided to them on the chat was very relevant and targeted to their specific situation, so they could ask about their situation and their immigration status and get the answer that they needed. Right, so the participants in the interviews mentioned that the online platform took off some of the pressure that would be prevalent in a in-person conversation with English as a second language. So, namely, it allowed them to pause, to take in the information that they were getting. They were also able to think ahead in the questions they were going to ask, formulate their responses. So it eased some of that cognitive effort when trying to communicate in a second language and allowed them to retain the information, to process it, and take their time in responding.
So one other thing that we were trying to compare was how our platform compare with more traditional settlement counseling services. That would be where someone would call an agency, request an appointment with a counselor, and then come into the office on the previously specified date and time. And we wanted to know if our platform was more engaging or more effective for people with obstacles accessing those more traditional settlement counseling types of services. And what respondents told us was that they did not seek out traditional settlement counseling because they either had to take care of family members or they had to be at work or at school. Specifically, women indicated the online platform was more convenient for them because they had to take care of a family member, whereas men indicated that traditional services would have been more challenging because they had to be at work or school. And across both genders, those were the most common reasons over things like the cost of transportation or the time that it takes to get to an office in an agency.
There was one major drawback or disadvantage that the participants mentioned in the interviews, and that was the lack of availability of the chat in other languages. They mentioned that the majority of people who would be accessing the online platform, English would be their second language. and they mentioned that having other languages available would facilitate their communication and help people, bridge the gap between potential language deficiency and the information that they were seeking. One other disadvantage that was mentioned, but very small number of people, was that because of the online platform, the nature of that modality, there was no correctional feedback given to the participants on their English language skills, and they would often use that, as a chance to improve their language and take it into consideration, and the lack of body language to provide cues on the conversation.